Sahen el Harim Mehain Yavo Hezri Azri Mehim Adonai Os Shamayim Vaharetz Ale Yeten Lamot Raglecha Yanom Shomrecha Hine Lo Yanom Velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomerecha Adonai Tzelecha Aliyah Tiyeminecha Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yakakam Veyareach Balayla Adonai Ishmorecha Mikol Raham Ishmoret Nafshecha Adonai Ishmoret Tzeitka Uvohecha Meyata Vehad Olam.
Kol omer kra va'amar ma'ekra Kol habasar chatzir V'chol chasto ketzitz hasadeh Yavesh chatzir novel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo. Achen chatzir ha'am Yavesh chatzir novel tzitz u'devar Eloheinu yakum leolam. A voice says, cry out. But I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass. All of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers and the flower fades when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai roi lo echsar binot deshiyar bitzeni al mei menuchot yinaleni. Nafshi yishovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begates al mavet lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yinachamuni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. I didn't really feel like writing this. I just didn't. So I tried to distract myself. I listened to music for a while. But that reminded me of Kenny, because I know you and he kind of got together in high school over a singing group, right? You were in the same singing group together. Then I stopped listening to music, so I watched some TV. But that reminded me of Kenny, because as you know, Kenny had a TV screen the size of Solon. And I started thinking, what would a television station, what would a network be like if Kenny ran it? A 24-hour Ken Dachner television network. What would that be like? It would certainly be lighthearted. It would have a great sense of humor, because Kenny was certainly that. It would always be about family, because Kenny was the greatest family man alive. There was nothing he wouldn't do, nothing he didn't do for his family, for his daughters, for his wife, for his family. There would be a home improvement section to the Ken Dachner Network, because Kenny was handy. He did woodworking and wood burning. He made toys, iPad holders, growth charts for the kids. He even enlarged the deck on the house. Marilyn, you married a Jewish man who was handy. That's unbelievable. Where's that birth certificate? But you know all this already. Marilyn, you wouldn't need to watch this television network I'm describing because you lived it. You married the star of the show, a big, strong man who was very soft inside and very cuddly, a man who had no problem showing his emotions, a sensitive man who always knew what his priorities should be, a man who was outraged, literally outraged, when he saw someone being mistreated. More than outrage, he couldn't understand it. He couldn't fathom someone being mean-spirited. Not only couldn't he understand the meanness itself, it's that Kenny couldn't understand someone who didn't appreciate the good life around them, someone who would waste their time being mean. Kenny wasted no time in his life because he knew that life is precious, and he knew what was important. This is a man who knew how to live, and he knew how to love. And he taught that lesson until the end of his life. Yes, Marilyn, he put you first from the moment you were in his life. He certainly lost no time in knowing that he wanted to marry you. He knew right away. You need a little more time, but he knew right away. In college, he would visit you. He would drive, no matter what the weather was. You remember one visit when the weather was so bad, the local pizza place was giving away pizza for free to anyone who could get to the store to get the pizza. And you and Kenny walked hand in hand to get there. What a hint of your life to come. Because you two made it together in life no matter what storm was raging, and no matter what rain or snow was falling, and no matter how difficult, step by step by step, you made it together. Julie and Dana, you knew the only thing that would get your dad angry at the end of the day was that if you had done something during the day that made your mom angry. Being tough on her meant you had to deal with him. And you knew back then, as you certainly know now, that your parents were teaching you both about selflessness. They both wanted the other person to be happy, and they were committed to working everything out for that end. Everything was for the family. Vacations were for the family. Free time was for the family. You had dinner as a family each night. And although your dad was busy with work during the day, when he came home, he was fully there for you, 100% present for you, body and mind. He attended your school events and competitions. He made your days playful. He made up games and dances and songs as a parent. It was fun, and it was happy. And you knew you were loved. Always. For your dad, love was not only a feeling, it was an activity. He was driving you home from Florida if you weren't feeling well. He was bonding with your husbands in the most unusual ways possible. His own upbringing had been a very modest one. Rhonda, you said the money was often tight. Kenny was proud of providing for his family, proud of that feeling of satisfaction, of knowing he had earned for his family. He'd started out working with his dad in the beverage store. He moved into the scrap business as a general manager, and later as a purchasing agent. He dealt with many people, with vendors and traders. He supervised and administrated schedules, always well-liked, always good in interactions. I know when his father died, he said Kaddish all year, attentive to his mom, and I felt he was really coming into his own in the shul. He was a good man. He was an effective man. And he was a decisive man. And I say decisive because at a certain point in his life, Kenny had a decision to make. He had to make a decision when faced with his challenges, dating back to the stroke when he was 45 years old, but also in response to further illness and disease. These things challenged him and tested him, and he had to decide, how am I going to live my life? How am I going to face each day? Am I simply going to bow my head, lower my eyes, and reduce my dreams, and withdraw from the world, or am I going to live? And Kenny chose to live with color, and with will, and with strength, and with all of himself. Kenny chose to be just as real as he had ever been, just as genuine as he had ever been, just as alive as he had been before. And he was going to walk through that storm step by step by step, and he would do it with you. He lived with love, and he lived for love. And he simply brought his illness along for the ride. I know he liked the Indians. I know he loved the Indians. So he appreciated good competition. So I really envision this as a contest, a wager, a bet that was placed. One day, Kenny's body challenged Kenny's spirit to a contest. And the body said, yeah, sure, you're a good guy now, with joy in you. But how about if I challenge your comfort level? Maybe you won't be so joyful. Let's place a bet. And if you think I'm just making a joke, I'm not. There's a book of the Bible that reads like this. But I'll let you guys look it up. His body said one day to his spirit, I'm going to throw everything I can at you. Everything. I'll give it my best shot to break you. I'm going to sling arrows at your spirit, and you'll give up the joy. You'll turn bitter. And the body tried to defeat Kenny's spirit, and guess what? The body was wrong. 100% wrong. Kenny never gave up his spirit or his joy. He held on to it with love. He experienced the weddings and the births with remarkable support around him. You know, I chart my time in Cleveland based on your family. Working in New Generation together, being at your house, seeing these two little girls. I once teased you about flying in an airplane, that you should have more courage. You, my dear, are the strongest person around. And I know what you're going to say. It was Kenny. I had to do it that way because Kenny had the best attitude in the world. You'd give credit to Kenny. Your attitude was just matching his attitude. I understand that. I understand that. You called your husband brave because he rarely complained. He never wavered. You two lived life feeling that you had everything you needed, and you did. You lacked nothing. You had everything. And that's how you supported him during these years. I read the 23rd Psalm before. It's a bad translation. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It's a bad translation. It really means, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. Because the person who feels they don't lack anything in life is the luckiest person on earth. You and Kenny approached your days together with the attitude that I have everything I need in life. And it showed every day of your life. He lived with a good name, and he died with a good name. I'm going to call on Brandon.
Hello. I'm Brandon. I'm one of Kenny's nephews. And I don't say this lightly because I'm an uncle myself, but Kenny was really the best uncle in the entire world. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. He was just such a fun, effervescent guy. And when I was a little kid, I loved my Uncle Ken because he sometimes seemed like a little less of an adult than the other adults that I had to put up with. But as I got older and learned more about the world, and began to know my uncle more, as a grown person, I realized that it wasn't that he was any less of a grown-up than the other grown-ups. He was really more of one, because we're supposed to be the light that we want to see in the world, and that's what Kenny really was. And he was that way even when he was not at his physical best. He still had that same irreverence. He still had that same fun attitude, and that's something that I try to model as a father and as an uncle. And I don't think my Ken Dachner imitation is ever going to do true justice to him, but I think we all should try and remember the way he lived his life and what he taught us.
Bradley?
My Uncle Kenny had a nickname for all of us. My dad was Dagwood, my mom was Blondie, Ricky was Rickus Pickus, I was Blah Blah, and Hyla was Hyla. I can hear him saying, "Blah Blah, who's the king?" "You're the king, Uncle Kenny." "Good boy, now come over here and kiss my ring." I had no other choice. If I ever dared to disobey the master, he would threaten to show me something that I'd never seen before, which I won't expand on. Even when we gave in to his demands, we would still have to pay the exit price, which would usually be a few flicks or some spankings on every birthday. His chronic medical conditions took their toll after many years. They weakened his bones, they led to fractures, they thinned his skin. But I can't forget how much of an imposing presence he once was. As kids, he would let us punch him as hard as we could in the stomach, and it was like punching a brick wall. If I ever needed a bodyguard, he would be my number one choice. As strong as he was physically, he was quite the softy emotionally. He loved my Aunt Merkela, as he would call her, his daughters Dana and Julia, son-in-laws Ryan and Joe, grandsons Cooper and Mason, and of course his favorite daughter, Sophie the Pug. After his stroke at 45, he'd made his license plate on his bright yellow Jeep Wrangler say "still kicking," and he would drive Dana and me to school, and every morning our freshman year of high school, country music blasting the whole way. He loved a few things: the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or as he pronounced them, the Ninja Turtles. He loved woodworking, and he was talented at home renovations. And he and my Aunt Mass seemed to renovate their kitchen every other year. But perhaps one of his most admirable qualities was his positivity. Despite struggles with broken bones and difficulty breathing, bleeding, clotting, mobility, he never seemed to complain. He kept trucking along, just happy to spend as much time with our family as possible. He spent his last few days in the ICU at UH, and despite seeing some tragic situations in the ICU, in that ICU as a medical student and other ICUs during residency and fellowship, I never saw an ICU nurse cry. And they're true professionals, stoic, experienced, battle-tested. But this week his nurses bawled when he passed away. He was endearing, charming, kind, and appreciative, and those nurses clearly grew to love him as well. Despite the loss of your physical presence, we know you're still kicking spiritually among us all.
David.
Today we honor the life of beloved father, grandfather, uncle, husband, brother, and friend Kenneth Dachner, aka the leader of the Gator Gang. Kenny, we love you so much and we'll always miss you. You always knew how to put a smile on everyone's face and have a positive outlook on life, no matter what situation life threw at you. I'll never forget how warm and accepting and comfortable you made me feel when meeting you for the first time. I remember when we first met, we talked like we had known each other for years. I loved how you were never afraid to break the ice and say things that were so out there and funny, you just couldn't help but laugh. When talking with you, it would feel like I was joking around with a close friend. We'll always remember your giddy laugh and big smile that lit up a room. On Friday morning, the morning after you passed, I was in shul, and the rabbi brought me some tools and asked me to help fix the wooden stands. I couldn't help but think of you and how dedicated you were to your woodworking. This little hobby gave you so much joy, and you always wanted to express your kindness to other people by making them some of your creations. I I remember one time you thoughtfully made Giselle a blonde brownie recipe holder. But by now we hope that she has that recipe memorized. So many people get caught up in the craziness of life, but you found joy in the simple things. You knew what made you happy, and you knew how to make others happy. And ultimately, that's what really counts. You were such a strong fighter for a very long time and an inspiration to us all. To quote one of your favorite things in life, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we hope you cowabunga into the high heavens and find peace and rest with Sophie and your parents. Kenny, we love you so much, and you will be dearly missed.
And we're going to close with Marilyn's thoughts that I'm going to read on her behalf. Dear Kenny, how can I capture your essence in just a few mere words? As I look back upon our lives, I think of all of the doors you held open for me, literally and figuratively. You never put yourself first, even as you became more ill. What bothered you was not the fact you could no longer walk, but rather you could no longer open the door for me. When you could no longer drive, you weren't sad because you couldn't drive. You were sorry you couldn't drive to get my morning coffee. How can I be sad when God gave me the perfect husband for 40 years? Most will never experience the true selflessness, devotion, warmth, and kindness you gave to me. How can I be sad knowing you were here to raise two beautiful and amazing daughters, Julia and Dana, and to see them marry the wonderful men you called your sons, Joe and Ryan? How can I be sad knowing you were able to witness the births of your precious grandsons, Cooper and Mason? How can I be sad knowing your strong work ethic provided us with financial security? How can I be sad when I recall your silly songs and terms of endearment, which I cannot say in public, that you used for Julia and Dana? How can I be sad knowing you are back together with Nana, Papa, and your favorite daughter, Sophie? How can I be sad when you are once again strong and whole? How can I be sad knowing you will always watch over us? How can I be sad that this is your first extended trip without us? We were never apart for more than 2 days. I will forever miss your smile and contagious laugh and the warmth and comfort of your strong hand in mine. Until we see each other again. Love, me. Let's rise for the memorial prayer.
Eile malei rachamim, shochayna bamramim, hametzemeno hanechonom, tachat kanefei ashchina, b'machalot kedoshim adchavim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת ישראל מרדכי בן קלמן דוד ובאשה אתל שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תחי מנוחתו. אנא באו על הרחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני ונחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen.
May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that he performed while in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May he rest in peace. And we all say Amen. Let's be seated. We offer our condolences to the family, to Marilyn, to Julia and Dana, Joe and Ryan, Cooper and Mason, Rhonda and Sherry and Jeffrey, and the entire family. Family will observe Shiva at the residence in Solon, 5055 Crofton Avenue, 5055 Crofton Avenue in Solon, beginning today following services and following the burial portion of the service until 4 p.m. And then Sunday evening, tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. So today until 4, tonight 6 to 8, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 1 to 4 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m., and Friday, 1 to 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. I didn't say that right. 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday. Each day during the week, 1 to 4 and 6 to 8, except Friday, which is just 1 to 4 p.m. Today until 4, and tonight 6 to 8. We're going to pause in the service right now to arrange the processional, to move now to the burial spot. Please remain in your seats for another moment or two. The pallbearers, however, should now come forward.